Hello friends, I am Arpit and I am here with today's analysis. Today is 6th of September and we're going to deal with two very important topics which are in news. First is Prime Minister Modi in Singapore. Now, he is on his visit to the Southeast Asian countries, earlier Brunei and now Singapore. This was his fifth visit to Singapore as the Prime Minister. Key outcomes of this visit was the partnership between India and Singapore has been upgraded to a comprehensive strategic partnership. Strategic partnership was established in 2015. That was also under Prime Minister's leadership. And India and Singapore are going to collaborate on a very important aspect, that is semiconductor chip manufacturing. Singapore has established a stable ecosystem with respect to semiconductor chips. When it comes to manufacturing, designing, and all, Singapore is ahead. That is going to leverage India's position in the global value chains with respect to the semiconductor chip manufacturing. Next is Supreme Court on the rights of accused under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Manish Sisodia has been given bail. Then there's this leader of South India, BRS party. She has also been granted bail. Both of them were accused under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. The courts have taken suo motu cognizance and they have diluted certain stringent provisions of this law. This law was amended in 2019 to make, arrests cognizable and non-bailable under this. But yes, the interpretations have diluted these stands of the law. And then we'll move on to the MCQs and then we'll discuss the MCQs of yesterday. Now, Prime Minister Modi's visit to Singapore arrived in Singapore on Wednesday, that is 4th of September. This is two-day visit to Singapore at the invitation of his newly elected counterpart, PM Lawrence Wong. So he is Mr. Lawrence Wong, and he also visited a semiconductor chip manufacturing facility. This is basically from there. So this is how it was. The key facts about this visit: it is part of his broader Southeast Asian tour following a historic trip to Brunei. Because yesterday we covered Brunei, and this was his first bilateral visit to Brunei. And, you know, but this fifth visit to Singapore it was. This marks his fifth visit to Singapore. Visit comes shortly after Lawrence Wong assumed office as the new Prime Minister of Singapore. He had last visited Singapore in 2018. Our main focus this time was to strengthen the bilateral ties between both these countries and, you know, to strengthen our collaboration in the semiconductor industry because Singapore has an established ecosystem with respect to the semiconductor industries. So these were the two focus areas of the Indian Prime Minister this time when he was visiting Singapore. Now, key aspects of the visit. What have been the key aspects of this visit? First, arrival and reception, welcoming ceremony. He was welcomed by the Indian diaspora, and when he was welcomed by the Indian diaspora, though they were playing the drums and all, so he also, through his hands, means the Indian Prime Minister also attempted to play the drums, and fortunately and coincidentally, surprisingly, he matched the, I would say, the rhythm of the drummers, which you know were being played on his arrival and reception, and that was a sight to behold. Actually, some of the ministers also tweeted about it. The video. Official engagements. Modi's visit began with a ceremonial welcome at the Parliament House. High level meetings. Obviously, with the Prime Minister Lawrence Wong, he had been meeting. The primary agenda was to elevate India Singapore ties to comprehensive strategic partnership. Now, strategic partnership means we are having a partnership which is multidimensional. Multidimensional means we are engaging with each other in multiple domains. Apart from it, the security cooperation has to be a compulsory domain. Then only any partnership will be called as a strategic partnership. I've been mentioning about it earlier as well. A comprehensive strategic partnership is deepen the partnership in the already existing domains and look for new domains as well. Now, India and Singapore upgraded their partnership to strategic partnership way back in 2015. And now there was talk about, or there were intentions about upgrading it further to comprehensive strategic partnership. which eventually happened. So this was there. With President Tharman Shanmugaratnam and Emeritus Senior Minister Go Chok Tong. Further discussions on strengthening bilateral relations and enhancing cooperation in various fields. MOUs and agreements, signed MOUs, four significant memorandums of understanding were signed, focusing on cooperation in semiconductors, digital technologies, skill development, and healthcare. Significance, these agreements represent a major step in formalizing and expanding the strategic partnership between the two nations. So, this was the key objectives. This is something which needs to be understood. Elevating bilateral relations to comprehensive strategic partnership. Both countries agreed to upgrade their partnership to comprehensive strategic partnership. There was this proposal and there was an agreement among both these countries. Economic and trade relations, emphasis was placed on expanding trade and investment flows. Singapore is a leading economic partner for India with significant investments and opportunities for further collaboration. A lot of FDI also is routed from Singapore into India as well. It was there in the top 5 last year. I think this year also it was there in the top 5. So it is a key economic partner when it comes to the, I would say, relationship between India and Singapore. Next is semiconductor sector focus. So semiconductor chips, the importance to you guys know very well. We are living in this digital age, and in this digital age, one of the key components required to manufacture these, I would say, electronic equipments, whether it be phones or laptops or any digital equipment, or for that matter, not digital equipment, but you consider automobiles, there also semiconductor chips are used. So these semiconductor chips, basically making it for the country, exporting it has become a key, I would say, agenda for the country. We are currently dependent upon other countries like China and all, and we want to reduce that dependence. And we want to do that desperately. And that is why we have been partnering with multiple countries all across the world, whether it is Japan or uh, it is Taiwan or USA, and now we can see Singapore as well. So, with respect to semiconductor sector focus, there was a facility tour. PM Modi and PM Wong are scheduled to visit AEM Holdings Limited semiconductor facility, highlighting the importance of this sector in their bilateral relations. So, the image which I showed you in the first slide was about that facility, AEM Holdings. Opportunities for collaboration. The visit shows the potential for India and Singapore to collaborate in advancing semiconductor technology, leveraging Singapore's expertise and India's growing capabilities. It is very simple. India has the market, Singapore has the expertise. When the expertise meets the market, I would say both countries or both these parties, they thrive, they develop. As simple as that. Broader cooperation areas, pillars of cooperation, discussions covered advanced manufacturing, connectivity, digitalization, healthcare, skill development, and sustainability. There was a ministerial roundtable outcome as well. The leaders reviewed the outcomes of the recent India-Singapore Ministerial Roundtable, emphasizing the need for accelerated action in these areas. Cultural and regional initiatives. What have been these? 60th anniversary celebrations. We will be celebrating 60 years of our diplomatic ties in 2025, not this year. And announced the establishment of India's first Thiruvalluvar Cultural Center in Singapore. So, cultural ties will be deepened with the establishment of this cultural center over there. Regional and global issues. The discussion also covered important regional and global topics, including India-ASEAN relations. Again, Singapore is a key, I would say, country in the ASEAN grouping. ASEAN grouping has 10 countries, 10 member countries. Let me reiterate them for you. That is Myanmar, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, Philippines, Singapore, Indonesia, Malaysia, and Brunei. So, ASEAN is very much centric to India's Act East policy now. And both these countries where the Prime Minister has visited, that is Brunei and Singapore, are part of ASEAN. So, this visit not only strengthens bilateral relations between India and these two countries, but yes, India and the overall ASEAN region. Future directions, enhanced cooperation, the upgraded partnership will foster closer cooperation, sustainability, advanced manufacturing, digital technologies, and connectivity. Invitation to visit, Prime Minister Modi extended an invitation to the Prime Minister Wong to visit India, which Wong accepted, indicating a continued commitment and strengthening bilateral ties. So these were the highlights of the visit. But yes, now come to the very important topic, that is the strategic importance of semiconductor industry. I've told you that semiconductor chips are being used in multiple domains. We are living in this digital age, and their usage is going to increase in the times to come, not decrease. So why not partner with those people who have established expertise in that? Why not, you know, go for, I would say, making ourselves Atmanirbhar with the help of these people so that our dependencies on countries like China can reduce. That is the main aim. The government of India has been doing a lot about it. Last year, the government also conducted this fest called as Semicon, where India invited multiple semiconductor manufacturing players globally to this particular event and showcased the potential of the Indian market, which is immense. Now, Singapore's role in the, I would say, semiconductor value chain, and I would use this term. Okay. Singapore contributes approximately 10% of the global semiconductor output, means semiconductor chips, 10% are manufactured in Singapore, 5% of wafer fabrication capacity, and 20% of semiconductor equipment production. Economic impact: semiconductor sector is a significant driver of Singapore's economic growth, contributing 8% to its GDP. So since it is contributing this much to its GDP, that means the systems have stabilized, and this sector is moving towards a stable ecosystem over there. Collaborative potential. Talent development. Singapore has also launched various courses in microelectronics and IC designs in its universities, which will be very important, providing opportunities for collaboration in talent development. Industrial synergies. Singapore's well-developed semiconductor ecosystem presents opportunities for India to integrate into the global semiconductor value chain. India has the market, Singapore has the expertise. India has cheap labor also, because one phenomenon is that the cost of manufacturing semiconductor chips in Singapore are rising. So Singapore can be looking for alternate destinations where it can establish semiconductor manufacturing facilities and start manufacturing, because and one such preferred destination will be India. There are a lot of apprehensions about China in the ASEAN region, which can be kept aside, and India can be preferred. So we are going to be collaborative with each other, kind of what we have, that is the market and cheap labor, Singapore does not have. And Singapore needs that. What we need is the expertise, which Singapore has. So this jigsaw fit is making us, interdependent upon each other. That is causing synergies. Challenges and opportunities: production cost, rising production cost in Singapore. This is a challenge for Singapore, but an opportunity for us because we have cheap labor. And this rising production cost is making them to think about diversification of semiconductor operations. Global competitions. Other countries are offering substantial incentives to attract semiconductor investments, which could impact Singapore's share in global production. So, Singapore's share can reduce, but yes, with collaborations with countries like India, that can be sustained, even it can increase. Because after all, the companies which will be coming to India will be Singaporean companies and manufacturing their semiconductor chips over here. Now, to conclude this visit was very much important. First, comprehensive strategic partnership was established, or our strategic partnership was upgraded to comprehensive strategic partnership. Secondly, a very important, I would say, collaboration in the semiconductor chip manufacturing domain has been established, much needed by both the countries. So, this can make India-Singapore ties sustainable, long lasting. And this is what both the countries want. Singapore definitely is centric to India's Act East policy and the Indo-Pacific vision. Singapore is very much crucial in, I would say, its location. I would say when it comes to it, the geostrategic location of Singapore, from where the Strait of Malacca passes, that is very important for India. So our good ties with Singapore definitely are going to be in our favor. Actually, it is going to be in both the countries' favor. Now, Supreme Court on rights of accused under the PMLA, that is Prevention of Money Laundering Act. This act was passed in the year 2002, implemented in 2005. Money laundering is basically making look like basically you are earning money illegally, but you are giving it an appearance that it seems to be coming to you from legal sources. That process of making dirty money look like clean money is money laundering. Many aspirants are confused that money laundering is equal to converting black money into white money. It is not always the case. What if someone is earning black money by doing legal activities? And then that person thinks, ki bhai, let me convert it to white, let me deposit the money in the bank. That is not money laundering. Money laundering is simply converting illegal money into legal money. And the government identified this kind of financial crime, especially with LPG reforms happening to these kind of crimes increased a lot. Then in 2002, there was this law, Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Now, this law made Enforcement Directorate responsible for investigations for crimes related to money laundering. Enforcement Directorate was established in 1956 under Ministry of Finance. It was already an existing investigation agency. In 2012, the first amendment came to this law, Prevention of Money Laundering Act. The first amendment increased the quantum of financial penalties on the persons involved in money laundering. For example, earlier, the maximum punishment was rupees 5 lakh on the I would say victim convict, sorry. But this maximum limit was removed. So it could be any amount. Then another amendment came in this act in 2019, which made this act cognizable and non-bailable. Made this offense basically cognizable and non-bailable. Cognizable means you don't need an arrest warrant to arrest that person, and non-bailable means it is very difficult to grant bail in this. Now the courts have taken certain, I would say, standpoints on various provisions of this stringent law and try to mold those stringent provisions in case-to-case basis so that the larger justice prevails. Obviously, the 2019 amendment overpowered the central government when it came to this particular law, or overpowered those agencies like ED and all. But, you know, let's see what the courts have decided with respect to this Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Grounds of arrest. Earlier, what used to happen that ED was arresting and communicating it to the, I would say, convicts that, you are being arrested for this offense, because as per Article 22 of the Constitution, it is a fundamental right for the detainee to know on what grounds that person is being detained. So that communication was verbal. But in the Pankaj Bansal versus Union of India case 2023, the Supreme Court ruled that the accused must be informed of the grounds for arrest in writing, not verbally, as mandated by Article 22 of the Constitution. Oral communication is insufficient. Written grounds are essential to validate the arrest. And whether Enforcement Directorate must provide written grounds for arrest is mentioned under Section 19 of the PMLA. And this Section 19 was impacted by this ruling, as the Supreme Court said that in writing, that has to be given to the detainee. Bail for under trials. Now, in this particular case, Ajay Ajit Peter Kerkar versus Directorate of Enforcement, May 16, 2024, this was found that the court upheld the application of Section 436A. Now, what was Section 436A? 436A of CRPC. Now, it is Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita. So, in Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita also, this section is there, but this number of section has changed. 436A, it has now become 479. Now, what was this section? 436A of CRPC, which do not exist now. 479 of the BNSS. What does it say? It says that a person has been arrested for, let's suppose, a particular offense, and the maximum punishment for that offense, let's suppose, is 10 years. It is not clear that how much punishment this person has got, but the maximum as per the law is 10 years for that particular crime which this person has committed. So what will happen is, if the person has served half the sentence of the maximum punishment for this law, then that person gets eligible for bail. This particular phenomenon also was applicable to the crimes committed like money laundering and all. So let's suppose for money laundering, the maximum punishment is 14 years, and if the person has served 8 years in jail, still under trial, trial is going on. So then that person becomes eligible for for bail because that person has served half the maximum sentence. But the court upheld this thing also that if that person is being tried for more than one cases, then that person will not be bailed. The bail will not be given to that person. As simple as that. So this was held by the Supreme Court under Ajay Ajit Peter Kerkar versus Directorate of Enforcement. Issue was applicability of Section 436A of Code of Criminal Procedure to PMLA cases. It is applicable, but yes, if there are more than one cases, then it is not applicable. Need and necessity to arrest. Now, we also saw that the interim bail was granted to Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal, July 12, 2024. Issue legality of arrest without establishing necessity under Section 19 of the PMLA. The court held that, the ED should be arresting if there is necessity to arrest. If it has certain evidence with itself, which are pointing towards arrest. So then ED can go and arrest without an arrest warrant. Just a written notice has to be given to that person. And that grounds for believing that this person has done money laundering should be equivalent to the, I would say, proofs being submitted in the courts. Means those grounds should be of such threshold that if need be, they can be submitted in the courts as evidence. You should be so sure about the arrest. This is what Supreme Court wants to tell ED. The grounds of arrest should be, having that threshold. Relaxation of twin conditions. Now, Manish Sisodia got bail. Now, what are the twin conditions? Twin conditions. Condition number one is that the detainee, the person who has been detained, is able to prove that he or she has not committed any crime like money laundering. The onus of proof is on the detainee, not on the investigation agencies over here. Generally, what happens is it is on the investigation agencies to prove that this person has committed a crime. But in case of money laundering, it is the onus of the detainee to prove that he has not committed any crime under this. Second is that if that person goes out on bail, that person will not be doing or committing any crime. If the authorities, if the investigation agency is convinced over these two or these twin conditions, then only bail will be granted. Supreme Court upheld this. That first condition, if the detainee is able to prove that he has not been involved in money laundering. Secondly, he will not be doing money laundering when he will be out on bail. In these twin conditions, this bail can be granted. Next is bail exceptions for women. Now, a BRS leader, K. Kavita, was released on bail on 27th of August 2024. She earlier applied for bail in the Delhi High Court. Delhi High Court denied it, said that you are a quite educated lady, you knew what money laundering is and you had been involved. It seems that you have been involved in that. But a special court which was set up granted her bail on these provisions which are mentioned in the law, that is section 45 for women accused under the PMLA. The court overruled the Delhi High Court's denial of bail to Kavita, emphasizing that the exception should not be denied based on educational status. So, she had been granted bail. Now, confession to ED officers. Now, you can also confess to ED officers if you have been involved, and those confessions will be counted as evidence as per this law. Prem Prakash versus Union of India 2024. Admissibility of confessions made to ED officers under Section 50 of the PMLA. Court held that confessions made to ED officers do not violate the right against self-incrimination under Article 23 of the Constitution. However, these confessions should not be coerced. It should not be forceful. Forcefully, if you are doing that, then that is wrong as per the courts. That is not allowed. Now, general analysis. Now, this law, that is Prevention of Money Laundering Act, has been quite stringent in the times in the recent past, and a lot of arrests, including some noted figures in our country, has been done under this law. The Delhi Chief Minister is still in the jail, arrested on the grounds of these law. The hope is that this law should be used, not misused. And this is something which the courts are trying to uphold. The usage of this law that is going to tackle these kind of crimes, not the misuse. The impact of these rulings definitely are going to change the landscape where this law is getting applicable. But yes, those changes should be for the good of the society, not negatively. Coming on to the MCQs based on today's topics. First, consider the following statements with respect to Act East policy and mark the correct ones. Act East policy aims at integrating culturally with ASEAN countries. It was launched in 2014. Which of these statements are true? You have to identify. Second, consider the following statements and mark the correct one. India and Singapore upgraded their partnership to strategic partnership in 2018. The 2024 visit by the Indian PM established a comprehensive strategic partnership between India and Singapore. Only one, only two, both one and two, neither one nor two. Which of these statements are correct? Third, consider the following statements and mark how many of them are correct. Singapore manufactures 20% of the world's semiconductor chips. Cost of chip manufacturing in Singapore is on the rise. Singapore has a well-developed semiconductor chip ecosystem. How many of them are correct? That is the key word. Fourth question, consider these statements with respect to Prevention of Money Laundering Act and mark the correct ones. This law was passed in 2002. Money laundering is a cognizable and non-bailable offence as per the law. Enforcement Directorate was established as per the law to investigate into cases of money laundering. Only one, only two and three, or only one and two. Fifth, which of these comprise the twin conditions for bail under PMLA? First, the accused has to prove innocence. Second, the prospect of not committing the crime again when out on bail. Only one, only two, both one and two, neither one nor two. Now the MCQs of yesterday, the answers to those. Consider the following statements and mark the correct one. First, PM Modi is the first ever PM of India to visit Brunei. No, he's not the first ever PM to visit Brunei. The first PM before him, Manmohan Singh, has visited, although that was for an ASEAN summit, but it has not been mentioned in the statement whether bilateral visit. See, PM Modi was the first Prime Minister of India, is the first Prime Minister of India to visit Brunei on a bilateral visit. But he's not the first ever PM of India. Before him, Manmohan Singh has visited. First ever is the key word over here. So this makes this statement wrong. The visit of PM Modi will impact India's Act East policy. Yes, since Brunei is part of it, it will definitely impact. So B is going to be the correct answer of this question. Second, consider the following statements and mark how many of them are correct. The key is how many. Brunei and India established diplomatic relations in 1984. Exactly, this is true because we are celebrating 40 years of our diplomatic relations now. 84 to 2024 is 40 years. Brunei is important for India from its Indo-Pacific vision. Definitely yes. Brunei is a member country of ASEAN. So in today's video only I mentioned 10 countries which are part of ASEAN. Brunei is one of them. So this statement is correct. So all the statements are correct is going to be the answer for this particular question. Third, which of these factors are responsible for subdued oil prices in 2024? Now here we had one option which was wrong and that was correctly mentioned by one of you guys also in the comment section. Now, decreasing demand for oil due to a shift towards EVs. Yes, this option is correct. Geopolitical conflicts will increase the prices, not subdue the prices. So this is wrong. Supply chain disruptions. No, if in case it is there, they will increase the prices of oil. Oversupply of oil, definitely it will lead to subduing of the prices of oil. Now, 1 and 4 had to be the correct answer and 1, 2 and 4 was the option. So this option was wrong. A would be the answer in case 1 and 4 are the options to this question. Fourth, which country has been India's top supplier of oil in 2023-24? No doubt about this fact. Very simple. It is Russia since 2022. So Russia is the correct answer. Consider the following statements and mark the correct ones. Saudi crude oil is costlier than the Iraqi crude oil import for India. Yes, this is true. And among the top three, Saudi the costliest, then Iraq, then Russia. India's less than 80% of petroleum consumption is imported. No, not less than 80%. It is more than 85% now. So this statement is wrong. only one is going to be the correct statement for this particular question. Now, with this, we come to an end of today's session. I will be seeing you tomorrow now with more such informative news pieces. Till then, you guys very well know what to do. Keep studying, keep reading, keep writing. Most importantly, keep revising. Keep watching the videos, keep attempting the questions. That will definitely help you in the times to come. Namaste, Jai Hind, take care.